But I was bored in fourth year, and so I started writing poetry in class. And this is the story, a poetic story of what actually happened in one of my classes. It's about a young man. You'll see who he is in a minute. Hostility rages inside his cell. The terror of confusion, ambiguity, and nonsense hides his secret self. He retreats to bedbox musing until his rage is spent. He sits next to me, starving inside his obese house. This once sacred dwelling consumed his spirit, emptied it of hope, and filled it with rage. I want to be a racist. He jumps up and says, a heart-rending sob layered by anger, and memories too dangerous for him to contemplate becomes a bellow. Illness dismantled his sacred home and his spirit. An illness too complex and terminal for the magic of my bedbox. I hear his sobs atop his vengeful, inhuman words. The truth swallowed by my bedbox, image of his infancy staring and pleading. I want to go home. I want to go home inside myself. Wander about on sacred trails of infinite primal knowledge. I want to go home to that perfect place before the slashing and hammering of stones concealed me. He looks from eyes unable to peer out from the smiling infant truth of layer upon layer of familiar ancient knowledge, but sees from some limbo rooted nowhere. Nowhere. I don't like looking at him. Each time I do, my bedbox wraps itself around me. I imagine his infancy, his purity, before abuse adulterated his soul. I try not to listen to the sweet cries of new birth, pleading for a whole life, but my box vibrates, amplifies his cries. Letters fall out of his mouth, pathetically typed, separate, flat, neat little individuals scatter themselves on the floor before me. They teach me, unheard over the sound of his crying. Gray skin, once rose-hued, a stretched patchwork quilt over a too vast expanse of flesh betrays him. Feet planted firmly in midair, he cannot stand to see. We did not rob him of his self. We did not sever his roots. We don't own this hatred. This wrathful rage is contained in a vessel of his own construction. I cherish my bedbox image of your infant self. Before you were uprooted, cast adrift, mangled by the limbo bequeathed you. Your timeless memory lives inside, shrieking endless pleas to be relieved of the prison you consigned it to. After he shouted out that he wanted to be a racist, my teacher freaked out. He was not helpful. And he ran out of the room. And I thought he was probably in the bathroom crying. And when he returned, his eyes were all red. And he wanted to say something to me. But it was like the first time he noticed that I was so proud and sitting next to him. And he was so humiliated by what he said that he couldn't say anything. So we just stared at each other for a long time. Pretty soon he said, "Can I sit next to you?" I said, "Sure, go ahead." Go ahead. You know what a bent box is? It's a box with no joins. This is the top of it. And it's made from a single piece of wood, and the men bend it to make it square shape. There's no joints, there's no seams. And Salish women are supposed to get one when they get married to a Salish man. I didn't know, my poor Salish husband didn't know how to make one. So I made my own. And I put my poems in it. Does everybody know who Nelson Mandela is? Yeah, I had this amazing experience with Nelson Mandela. First of all, he was small. I didn't know that. He's a small, little, skinny man. And I once saw Morgan Freeman up close too. He's a small, little, skinny man too. Apparently Morgan is playing Nelson in the movie. And I thought, they look alike. Small, little, skinny old men. Anyway, um, Nelson came to Canada and they had an Asian speaker, African Canadian speaker, a white woman speaker, white man speaker, but they wouldn't let any native people speak. So when I got to hear, I get to go see him. I didn't care that we couldn't speak, you know. I just wanted to see Nelson Mandela up close, you know. There was a whole lot of Indian people picketing him. And I knew half of them. And I said, you can't picket Nelson Mandela. Get in the building. And they said, they won't let us talk. So we wanted to, you can't picket Nelson Mandela. And I said, go in the building. I promised to run up and take the mic. Okay. So they all go in the building. They put their sides down. We're inside. And this woman keeps popping out and saying, Nelson will be out shortly. Nelson will be out shortly. Nelson will be out shortly. And the crowd's getting kind of restless. Nelson Mandela. You know how they do that, kind of chanting away. Finally, this lady comes up to me and she says, Nelson won't take the stage until an indigenous person from the Americas speaks first. Would you talk? So on the way to the podium, I wrote this poem. And I printed it here just like it was on the napkin that I had. It's called Mr. Mandela. I don't say Mr. anybody very often, but it is out of deep respect, abiding respect. Forgive me, Mr. Mandela, I tried to picture you in prison for 25 years, but a hand closed on my throat. I know this hand. It lives in the windowless room of my childhood, a room filled with rats and menacing sounds, and a terrifying loneliness seizes my insides, closes my voice, and I don't want to remember. In the dark, eyes shut tight, the memories of an empty belly force themselves to fill the space where thoughts of you ought to live. The sight of your black face between stark white walls and iron bars draws the drapes on a ray of light left me by 1,000 rain-soaked days. When I look at you in prison, Mr. Mandela, I can't feel the power of Mother Sea, feel the wind of my green mountains, or rise up to resist their demise. I treasure this eagle couching you. You shall have to be happy, Mr. Mandela, with my humble tribute.